Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're going to be talking about the artist Norman Rockwell. Norman Rockwell, the Saturday Evening Post's most famous illustrator, is considered by many to be one of America's most greatest artists. He was a master storyteller. And in these pictures, you can see here that he was quite fond of a certain kind of animal. If you guessed dogs, you are absolutely right. Norman Rockwell was famous for showing everyday American life, including some of the more controversial issues of his time from 1916 to 1963. But he's most famous for his magazine covers for the Saturday Evening Post. And you can see he's illustrated many of them. 55 covers featured. What animal do you think? You guessed it, dogs. Only 12 had cats. Let's find out what we're going to create today. It's Puppy Palooza. We're going to make a Norman Rockwell dog using an inspired three-dimensional art piece, which hopefully includes your Model Magic clay. So check out these rainbow puppies over here because that is what we're going to be creating. Materials. We are going to need, of course, our Model Magic. We're going to need from the art kit that I gave you that was sent home. If you don't have it, then you can always work on the second piece of this project, which is an origami dog head, which is in the videos as well. Markers will be handy as well as watercolor paint. So here is the Model Magic that I took out of the container and I rolled it into some just some little shapes over here that we can use to create our puppy. So the first shape that I rolled it into is about the size of a rock. So if you have about the size of a rock, then you've got your shape for your dog's head. Then I have two shapes that are about the size of a quarter, and those are going to be pressed into our dog's ears. They're going to be big floppy ears. And then I have a shape that's about the size of a dime, and that's going to be for the eyes and nose. And then I have a piece of clay that is shaped about the size of a nickel, and that is going to be for my puppy's snout. So let's talk about how we're going to get these shapes. You can roll them and simply pull the pieces apart until you have what you think are some fairly even amounts. Okay. Once you have your clay divided into these parts, remember head, ears, snout, and these are going to become the eyes and nose. We're going to do something right here with this smallest piece of clay. This is going to be the eyes and nose, and I really want them to be black. Now I could wait and paint them at the very end, or you can also take your marker and simply color right on top of your tiny piece of clay, and then fold it over and over and over and roll it and roll it and roll it. You might get a little marker on your hands, but it's kind of fun to see the process of transforming your white clay into a color. So again, more marker and more transformation. So I just roll it up, squish it, and you'll start to see that your clay is taking on a new color. Might be kind of faded at first, but you'll get the idea. And again, if you don't have paints, this is going to be the way that you can add some color to your clay. So look at that. Now I have a grayish kind of marbleized black. If I wanted it to be darker and darker, I could repeat this process over and over as many times as I like. But for the sake of time, we're going to get started with what we have right in front of us. So I'm going to put this little piece of clay off to the side because I know that that's going to be for the end where I add my nose and my eyes. Okay, so let's get started with the first shape, which is going to be your dog's head. So once you get that nice rolled ball shape, now I'm just going to take the flat part of my hand and push down and kind of flatten it out. Now notice it stayed in that nice circle shape. So I'm just going to continue to press it until I get it to about the size I want. Remember, you don't want to make your clay too thin or it will just crumble. Notice this is kind of about the thickness of a pancake. Okay, so now that I have my head shape, that was pretty easy. I'm going to create those fun ears. So I used this clay over here. This is my ear and this is my other ear. So I'm just going to simply press down on these. Now these I don't want so round. So I'm going to press and then also push in on the sides so that my ears are not quite so round. I want them to be more of an oval or even a long kind of, this is a little bit like a rounded rectangle. So you can continue to keep pressing and extending the clay until you have a shape that you are happy with. So that looks pretty good. But now remember, I need 2 of these. So I am going to do another one and I'm going to try to make them as similar as possible, even though it's quite all right if they're not. Okay, so I'm just going to tap those, make sure that they're about the same size. These look pretty good to me. Now, in order to make the clay stick, you sometimes want to what we call score or rough it up. Now, I'm not sure what you have for materials at home, but I'm pretty safe to say that you'll probably have a pencil. So I'm just going to rough up 2 little spots and see how I kind of just textured the clay there. So, and I'll do the same thing on this side. And then I'm just going to gently press right in that spot. And if I've done my due diligence here and I've created my texture, scored those pieces and pressed firmly, those should stay. You might want to just give it a test, make sure it's not going to pop off. Otherwise, you just roll it up and do it again. It's kind of fun. So that's the great part about clay. All right, next I'm going to use my snout shape. So here I am. I have this small rounded ball. I'm just going to press it with my hand and kind of work it into another smaller oval. So you can see that this oval is a lot smaller than the ears. And I'm kind of happy with the shape that's right there. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just talked about earlier. I'm going to choose a side, rough it up with my pencil, rough it up where I'm going to put it right on top of my dog. So I'm kind of getting the sticky pieces to kind of come together. And I'm just going to press down and rather firmly so that it stays nicely. All right, so far so good. I'm liking what I have. Now comes time for the final couple of pieces. So I have this one little piece left. Remember that one was about the size of a dime, but now I'm going to divide it into 1, 2, and 3 little pieces. So depending on how dimensional you want, that means how puffy you want your eyes, nose, and mouth will depend on the size of your clay. Now you don't want to have ginormous eyes and nose. Well, maybe you do, I don't know. So here's what I'm going to do. I roll them into 2 small little shapes just like that, pressing down. Again, if you feel like you need to rough these up, I just rolled them so they were kind of sticky to begin with. And then my final piece right here, I'm just going to put right in the center. So adorable, right? So now that I have my dog, notice I don't have to do anything with the eyes and the nose because look at how cool they look already, kind of that marbleized texture. But I might want to paint my dog. So what I do recommend is that you let your puppy dry first. And that way it will be nice and secure when you go back to add your watercolor. But if you're impatient and you just can't wait and you want to add some of those rainbow colors, you can simply use a couple of things. Let me show you. You could use markers, of course. Look how nice markers show up on this white color clay. So you can do a rainbow puppy if you want. Again, if you are creating your art and you are worried that it's going to dent when you color, then I would wait till it's completely dry before you add all your extra details. But I just wanted to share with you, you can use marker. You can also use watercolor paint. Watercolor paint works well as a surface covering agent here. Here's my purple color. I'm painting that on. So if you want to choose to use watercolors, you might be able to get into those nooks and crannies a little bit easier than you would with a marker. And you can see how colorful and kind of bright that color is as well. So lots of options for you, whether it's with paint, whether it's with marker, and you can decide what design you want to give your puppy today. So I hope you enjoyed making your very own three-dimensional puppy head based on Norman Rockwell's love for dogs. I hope to see you guys again. Keep on creating.